Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who's tuning in today is doing super fantastic. Before I get into this episode, I do want to say, make sure you're following me on my socials at a Tall Girls podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so you can stay up to date on all of the latest podcast episodes and catch a glimpse of my everyday life. Also, feel free to leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. Also, I have a monthly newsletter. Make sure you subscribe for that. Everything is going to be linked in the description. I do have a bit of good news. If you didn't know, I graduated from undergrad, like a couple months ago, back in May or June or whatever. And, I've been taking some time off, but I also have been applying to master's programs, or really just two. I make it seem like I'm applying to 10 or 20. Really just two programs. I applied to those. I heard back from one of them and I got in, and it's my number one choice. But this number one choice is very expensive. We love that. Still waiting to hear back from the second one, but I think we can make this first choice work. I don't know. But the fact that I even got in, I'm very happy and I'm very excited. And yeah, if I choose to go there, we'll see how that works. I'm looking to get my master's relating to marketing in any way. So I'm a marketer outside of this podcast. In undergrad, I studied entrepreneurship, but now I want to focus more on marketing, more so networking rather than actually studying it, because I feel like that field is something you can learn more hands-on rather than sitting in a classroom and learning it. So I more so want to do it for networking purposes. I also want to go into brand management. So this particular master's program that I got into, they have a concentration in brand management. It literally aligns with my interests. So I don't know. I'll keep you guys updated. The main thing is I got into my first choice of a master's program. So if you're listening right now, feel free to hit me up in my DMs on my socials and congratulate me, because, this is a very big next step for me. And honestly, the final step at the moment in my education. So I'm excited just to see how that works for me and then just see what opportunities come from that. So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to say that we're gonna get into the topic of today's episode. Let's get into it. So apparently there are people out there who think that tall people are privileged. Like, there's literally a term called tall privilege. I guess I'm not tall enough to know what it is, because this is the first time I'm ever hearing about this. So we're going to learn about this together, since it's my first time, and even if it's potentially your first time. So of course I looked it up on Google. Google's the first place I always search, of course, before using other sources. And now Google is doing this thing where they give like the AI answer. The definition that AI basically gave me was that it's essentially the advantages tall people may have over shorter people. And this is kind of interchangeable with height privilege, height bias, etc. So essentially, if you heard of pretty privilege, I'm sure most of us have heard of pretty privilege. It's kind of similar to that, where it's like, yeah, there are benefits of being quote unquote pretty or attractive. And there's also this other type of privilege that I don't know if I really want to say, but if you're a POC, I'm sure you know the privilege that I'm talking about, and that's all I'm gonna say. So think of pretty privilege, the other type of privilege, but with being tall. And obviously these benefits of each type of privilege is going to be different. But anyways, these benefits can show up in different areas of your life. But it seems to be like a big thing in the dating world, which kind of caught my attention in a way, but I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So I was scrolling through TikTok, because honestly, that's like my number 2 go-to search engine right after Google. And I found a couple things that talked a lot about tall privilege and dating. But here's the top video that I found.
Tall privilege is a real thing, because I have seen the most Shrek-looking dudes pull the baddest. Woo! I'm not hating. If I was a girl, I would only date guys 5'11" and over. I'm just being honest. I'm hanging out with my tall friends like 6'4", 6'5", 6'3", 6'2", whatever. And I look up at them and I think, yeah, this would be pretty sexy if I was a girl. Yeah, this would be better. That's not weird that I said that. That's not weird at all. It's just that, like, I've seen these guys who look like they're straight out of American Horror Story, and their girl looks like she's straight out of Riverdale, and just, it's not adding up. I'm 5'8", and I'm not unhappy with life. It's fine. I'm just saying, if I had a few extra inches on my height, I think life would be a lot better. It's just that I think if I was 6 feet, I would have double the money, and I think my parents would love me more, just to be honest. I'm just saying, if you're a guy that's tall, you have life on easy mode.
Okay, so this video actually made a couple points, but obviously the biggest one is dating. But then there are other things like money, and he said something about his parents loving him. That's like, okay, that was a bit much, but money and dating, that's like the main things. So essentially it's like, yeah, people are more likely to date a tall man because he is tall. So people see that as more attractive. Other benefits of tall privilege include earning more money, potentially getting more promotions, also gaining more respect. Let's hear from somebody who's actually tall and firsthand has experience with tall privilege.
What is it like living life as someone who's 6'4"?
It's like being dealt at least 2 aces. You're born straight white male and tall, or that's at least 3 aces out of 5.
What are some of the biggest advantages you would say?
Girls, a certain physical presence in a room. I think it's helped me in leadership a bit.
Now, he didn't outright say it, but essentially he's experiencing tall privilege. Okay, he's getting more girls. He spoke about his presence. So in summary, just summing it all up, tall privilege is basically a group of advantages that one experiences because of their height, because they're tall. So like more options for dating because everybody's like attracted to them. I'm gonna just put everything in quotes. Everybody's attracted to them because that's not always the case, but many people, I will say, are attracted to them. They get a lot of attention because of that as well. They have more respect. Studies show that tall people make more money, more likely to get promotions. A tall person's presence is felt when they walk into a room. Their presence is seen when they walk into a room. So that's essentially what tall privilege is, or at least that's what I found on the internet. Cool. Are we on the same page about this? Awesome. Now that we're on the same page, are we noticing a pattern here? Like, I know it's only 2 videos, but there's just a very big like theme here, and that it's mainly talking about men, like tall privilege mainly revolving around or talking about tall men. In my personal opinion, tall privilege mainly exists for tall men and not tall women. Obviously, no tea, no shade, but I think that tall men tend to experience more of the benefits of their height than tall women. And, you know, when I was going through a couple things, like a couple videos and research and stuff for what tall privilege is and what it means and stuff, some people were talking about like I don't want to say superficial things, but the more basic things, I guess you could say, like reaching on top of high shelves and seeing over people's heads in concerts and stuff, or walking fast. And yes, I think that that's definitely one of the or a couple of the benefits of being tall. But I'm talking about like a deeper level, as I said before, with dating, with making more money, more likely to get promotions, and so forth. And honestly, I think I'm going to do an episode regarding tall people in the professional setting and tall women in the professional setting, because I think that that's something that could be interesting to dive into. It's not to say that tall women don't experience the benefits of tall privilege or being tall, because we do. Our height is actually an asset. But honestly, we in society are just taught to not see it that way, and it sucks. I want to play a video of this tall girl creator really quickly to go over this point a little bit.
One thing about being tall is it could be annoying at times. I am 5'11". 5'11". I'm almost 6 feet. I'm a tall girl. So when people see me coming, they think I'm somebody. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you thinking I'm somebody. But what I don't like is that I can't hide. It doesn't matter. I can walk into Starbucks right now and folks are just going to be like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? It is a flex. It is what I call my privilege. And we all have different privileges. But it could be annoying because it triggers other people for some reason, just like a real pretty girl triggers other people, right? So it's just, I love being 5'11". I love being tall. Thank you, Lord. You spent more time on me. However, it is challenging.
But that's what I don't get. Why are some people so triggered by a tall woman's height? Is it because they're insecure? Is it because they're bored? Like, we really need to do studies on this. Listen, I love being tall, but combining that with being a woman definitely has its own set of unique challenges. Forget about the clothing and the posture issues. I'm talking about deep-rooted trauma and emotional and mental issues. They say that tall privilege boosts confidence in a way. And I mean, yes, I get it. Everybody wants to be with you. People want to throw money at you. You want to get all these promotions at your jobs. People respect you and this and that and the other. However, it's not necessarily the same thing for tall women, in my personal opinion, because we hear a lot of, I've said it several times in this podcast, but I've heard a lot of cries, even on social media, from following other tall women about how people are saying these rude things to them. And there's this lack of respect because they're asking these very inappropriate questions, making very demeaning comments, and so forth and so on. Even the looks that people give us from time to time. And it's just like the lack of tall privilege, I guess you could say, for tall women hinders our confidence, if that makes sense, and starts to bring up all of these insecurities. And I'm not saying that we don't experience the benefits of being tall. Like, we do at times, but I think it's just more, it happens more often for tall men. However, I think that we can still make tall privilege work for us. Do you know what I mean? We can own our presence and embrace visibility when we walk into a room. We can leave a lasting impression. We can turn heads and have all eyes on us. We can be leaders. We can step into higher positions. And we can still be beautiful and graceful and feminine while doing it. I personally think that the outside chatter and the societal expectations are honestly making it hard for us to see that. And I don't know. I just find it very, very weird. And I do also want to preface and say it's not just like, being tall that can make you more successful. There's obviously a lot of factors that go into it, and you can be extremely successful. You could be an extremely successful person and not be tall. You can be average height. You can be short and still do the things that you want to do and accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. So I definitely want to just put that out there. Even though we're talking about like tall privilege and stuff, I do want to say that anyone in any height can succeed. What I want to say with this is that it's just interesting to see tall privilege in tall men and tall privilege in tall women. With this episode, I'm not trying to like discriminate against any height, of course. I just wanted to talk about how tall privilege, first of all, what tall privilege is, because I mean, after hearing the definition, like now I know what it is, because yes, I've heard about like the studies that are talking about, tall people get more money and this and that and the other. I just never heard the term tall privilege before. I didn't think they actually called it something. But yes, this episode was meant to go over what tall privilege is, but also to talk about the fact that it's more so seen in tall men than tall women. And the kind of, not entirely, but kind of the opposite effect occurs with tall women. We're not always as successful in the dating world because of the whole thing with, tall women are more masculine and this and that and the other. And not even necessarily being tall in the workplace, but being a woman in the workplace definitely has its own set of challenges with it than being a man, but I'm not going to get into that. So I think that tall privilege mainly exists in regards to tall men. So, do I think that tall privilege exists? Yes, 110%, just for a certain group of people. Anyways, do you think that tall privilege exists? Have you had any experience with tall privilege? I'd love to hear your experiences. So yeah, I honestly want to hear, the thing is, when I looked up tall privilege, I more so got it from a man's perspective than a woman's. There was that one clip that I played earlier that, talked about it from a woman's perspective, but are there more of those? I'm going to try to see if I can find more of those, but hearing these benefits, I feel like it's more so in regards to being a tall man. But that's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree. You can agree. You can disagree. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I think I'm going to do some more research on this. Anyways, I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. As always, feel free to hit me up on my socials. You can let me know if you think that's how privilege exists. You can let me know if you agree with what I said, disagree with what I said. You can congratulate me on getting into a master's program, anything. That's obviously within reason and appropriate. My DMs are open, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, week, month, year, whatever it is for you. And I'll catch you in the next one. Good night and goodbye.